Welcome back, everyone. My name is Eric Capizzoli. I'm a registered dietitian here at Hillman Cancer Center, and we're in the teaching kitchen today. I have Julia Pallas with me.
Also a registered dietitian here.
So today we're not going to be cooking, no recipes. This is strictly an informational video. So what we're going to be talking about is the main word that we hear every day.
Right, big buzzword, processed foods.
Yeah. So we wanted to just kind of put this together to show you some differences between unprocessed or whole foods, minimally processed, processed, ultra processed. You're going to hear this all over social media, your friends, your family, everyone talks about
Everyone.
it, right? You were describing a patient who was not wanting to eat processed foods?
Yeah, exactly. They were concerned about canned beans and they had been told to kind of avoid processed foods. And we talked about how, you know, there's very varying levels of processed, which we're going to talk about today. And something like canned beans would never be something that we would be concerned about. And really, in general, we're not really concerned about processed foods in general. And we'll kind of discuss why that is today and kind of go over some examples.
Yeah, for sure. So we have, there is a food classification system called the NOVA classification, which I heard on the webinar a few months ago, and I thought it was pretty interesting to kind of categorize these foods. And so today we have all these foods. We're going to put them in categories for you. It's better like visual representation. And I'm actually going to have Julia do it. I didn't tell her the answers, so we're going to see if a registered dietitian can do it. So we have our unprocessed or whole foods, which we'll give you this one.
Right.
So peanuts, these are just dry roasted peanuts, unsalted, so nothing added is a whole food. So it's going to be unprocessed. And then we have our peanut butter. So this one, too, is kind of like a curveball. So that's why we kind of have it in here. So it is processed because it has added salt, but it's going to be considered minimally processed. So we don't have our sign here, but it's still on that borderline.
Right.
And then very good.
So good, but
Peanut butter cups.
but might fit into that more ultra processed category because there's a bunch of ingredients added. It's very different from that original state of just the regular old, roasted peanut.
Yeah, for sure. Definitely. And then we always hear like good and bad foods. This would be considered like what people call a bad food. But we talk about there's no bad foods. They're just foods we want to eat in moderation.
Right.
And we don't want to go through life without eating some peanut butter cups.
Right, exactly. That sounds like a sad life.
So what we have is our categories. So I'm going to just have you, I'll say what it is and then you can tell me where to put it.
Okay, sounds good.
So we have whole milk,
Okay.
vitamin D. If you want to look at the ingredients there.
Okay, so the only ingredients are milk and then the added vitamin D. So we're going to put that in the unprocessed category. Basically, straight from the cow. And then, so we're going to stick with the dairy products. So we have this Faya yogurt, which I'm thinking is going to be in the processed because there's added cultures to make it a yogurt from the plain old milk. So I think I'm going to go processed.
Okay.
And then we have two more yogurts. We have this lemon yogurt. The ingredient list is a little bit longer. There's some added flavorings. It's lemon flavored, which sounds good. There's some honey in there. So I'm going to say this is going to go more towards that ultra processed. And then we also have this strawberry yogurt, which happens to be organic, which could kind of be a curveball.
Okay.
But I think I'm still going to put it in that ultra processed category because of the added ingredients. There's a somewhat long ingredient list for this because it's flavored and there's some sweetener in there. So I'm going to put that kind of with that yogurt.
Okay.
And I do.
So we're right on the milk. That's going to be unprocessed, whole food. So the yogurts are interesting. So with this, we're only going to have skim milk, cream, live active cultures. So this is on that borderline again.
Right, so similar to like that peanut butter.
Similar to this peanut butter, it's almost going to be that unprocessed because it's just the cultures.
Right.
So again, borderline. And like we're saying with the organic, people think organic automatically means good.
Right, which is not necessarily the case. It could still be organic and still be considered processed or even ultra processed. So nothing wrong with it being organic, but it's good to kind of take away that stereotype of organic meaning good.
Yes, 100%. So with this is going to be ultra processed because of the added sugar and other ingredients. And then our lemon yogurt, again, is going to fall into those categories. Again, more ingredients doesn't necessarily mean bad, but it's just going to be from this original state, we're taking it to this by adding some things to it.
Right.
Now, processing food, is necessary for, stabilization of food,
Right.
food safety, all those things. That's why it does not automatically,
Mean bad.
yes. So we're going to, like if my patient asked if they wanted to eat anything on this table right now, we're going to say
Of course.
yes. So we're going to go with our apple stuff.
Okay.
So,
Okay. So we're gonna say apple unprocessed, straight from the tree.
Straight again. Okay.
This applesauce, I think it's again gonna be similar to the peanut butter and the plain yogurt because I assume we don't have an ingredient. Is there? Okay, actually I'm lying. So there is sugar added. So we're gonna say that this is processed. And then we have two bars. We have a Lara bar and a Nature's Bakery bar. I'm gonna go that these are both more that ultra processed. Just looking at the ingredients list, there's a pretty good amount of ingredients and additives and some, sugars and whatnot. So we're gonna put these two bars in that ultra processed category.
Okay. So let's see how you did here. Apple, definitely whole food, straight from the tree, right?
Right.
Okay. Not a farmer's market, but hey, it counts, right? Now with these are interesting. Okay. So the Lara bar.
I guess there is more whole ingredients in there.
Yeah, so the weird thing about these are, when we look at these ingredients, we have dates, almonds, apples, walnuts, raisins, and cinnamon.
Okay, so it's whole foods that are
But-
processed into a bar, but maybe not that ultra processed because there isn't any added sugars.
Right,
There's
added
not
sugar,
any like,
no salt.
preservatives.
exactly.
So,
That's going to fall more into like our peanut butter, minimally, it has to be processed because it's not
Right.
original state. Now this, because we have the sugar, this is, it's going to be considered ultra, but it's almost like in the middle. You see how
Right.
these start to get a little,
right, even a seasoned dietitian,
yeah.
it gets kind of wishy-washy because there's not a strict definition really of what's ultra processed and what's processed. So again, it kind of just points back to that original point that it doesn't really matter too much about what category things fall into. Food is food.
Yeah, and we want to talk about how we want to add most of our foods. We want to be whole foods, obviously, but we talk about access to food.
Right.
Food banks have a lot of canned things. Again, it's not going to mean that it's bad.
For sure.
If you have access, we want to try to get as many whole foods as possible, and the least amount of our foods are going to want to come from these categories.
Right.
Now, again, the fig bar, you got that right. That's ultra processed apple cinnamon fig bar. So that's just kind of like the main points to get across. The last thing we have here, if you want to throw that into,
Okay.
we have
so,
our regular peanut butter, which would be like in a Jif kind
Right.
of category, or Skippy.
So we're gonna say this is gonna go under ultra processed because unlike this peanut butter, which is just the peanuts and salt, this has some added sugars. It has cane sugar and molasses and oil and salt. So we're gonna go ultra processed because there's a pretty long journey to get to the peanuts to this, whereas this is kind of that intermediate step.
Yeah, for sure. So I think definitely got that right, and that's what it comes down to too with this. We're going to add some things to these foods, kind of strip some fiber away from some of these foods where, again, we always talk about increasing our fiber intake,
Right.
Decreasing, our added sugar. So leaning more to my right with these foods, it's going to be easier to do that.
For sure.
But, we always say all foods are going to fit, but again, trying to get as many whole foods as possible and limiting our processed things. But the last thing is, all these foods fit. No
Exactly.
fear, nothing is bad. But if you're going to eat peanut butter cups all day, it's probably not going to be good for the amount of calories you're going to get from that. And,
Right.
Right?
Exactly, and we're not getting any fiber from there. Whereas, eating a serving of peanuts, we're going to get some fiber, some extra protein. The processing sometimes takes that away, like you said.
Yeah. So we're just pulling something away from it, shelf stability, all those things, which are good for certain things. But again, leaning to this right side, and we're going to link, so I have the Nova classification system. This is just kind of like a printed out. We're going to link this in the description of the video, so you can kind of see what you have in your house, see what you have that's unprocessed, processed, ultra processed. And again, it's not always going to be black and white fit in the single category. We know the whole foods, but when we start getting to the left here, it's going to be more difficult.
Right.
And as always, reach out to us if you have questions, email, leave a comment, like, follow.
Yeah. Hope you enjoyed. Hope this was helpful and kind of gave you some clarity on whole foods and the processed foods and kind of what to look for.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you.